What's up, guys? We're back, and it's time for our second best of 3 today. Seed is back in the GSL.
Yeah,
I'll never forget casting him in Busan against MC.
Yeah.
One of the cooler finals we ever had, actually.
Did you think so? I didn't like that final that much. I didn't think it was that good.
I thought the location was sick.
Oh,
we were on the side of the beach.
The final itself, yeah, like the location, the build-up.
I also don't think a 3-0 is always a bad thing. But yeah, the games are not the best ever, but as far as just a memorable finals for me.
Because I thought you meant the games. I'm like,
no. For me, it was just crazy because this is pretty early on in GSL, you know?
Yeah, it was reasonably early.
And it was the time when we're like, okay, cool, now we're going to cast at Hyundai Beach. Very famous location in Korea.
I love going to Busan.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, great city. But that was the height of Seed's success then. He had fallen off a little bit. And speaking of wrist pains,
I think these are just pre-game stretches.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty sure.
But yeah, Seed had fallen off a little bit then. Deer, his opponent, another player, came out of nowhere, tore through a GSL.
Yeah.
And
was
became
just
a champion.
on fire. His Protoss play was something to behold, that's for sure. But his team was falling apart. You know, he kind of was in a state of almost limbo for a little bit. Decided to go to a foreign team, as some players do. And let me say what I was going to say previously.
And then we say foreign, we mean just a non-Korean team.
Yeah. Basically, the players that go to non-Korean teams and come back to KESPA teams, I have a lot of respect for. That includes like Innovation, Deer. This song is actually making me forget everything I was going to say. But anyways, something about I have a lot of respect for that because they go out, they travel the world a bit. They're like, ooh, everyone out that's traveling that scene is like making a lot of money. And then they're like, oh God, I'm not quite as good as I was. And then they come back, they join a KESPA team, and their skill goes right back up. You know, the practice regimen and all that. So I have a lot of respect that Deer came back, decided to join Samsung, and he's playing well recently. He's having little ups and downs and whatnot, but I think Deer is back on track to being one of the very best Protoss in the world.
The match is loaded up. Seed against Deer. Here in our second best of 3 in the GSL Code S. In the bottom left, in the red,
Dignitas Seed.
Way better ads for the non-Korean teams on the map than for...
This is true. In the upper right, in the blue,
Samsung Galaxy Can Deer.
Is that like a big G? Deer's like lists the Twitter. I mean, Seeds lists like the Twitter and Facebook and all that. It's like there's a big G for
punching
Galaxy.
this code here. Yeah, see, that's...
Yeah, see?
I'd say that I like that a little bit better for
that's good marketing right there.
There's no need to disguise it at all.
Someone's got to get on that.
Yeah.
Look at that. It just
well, I mean, let's talk about the foreign team versus the Korean team experience. One thing that foreign teams have been very good at is monetizing players correctly.
Well, this is the funny thing, and people don't oftentimes understand this. The KESPA teams are actually marketing budget for these giant corporations out here.
Yes, that is true.
Whereas something like Dignitas or EG or Liquid, these are actually businesses that are made to make money.
Welcome
so
to the studio.
Difference.
Thanks for coming down.
And you know, the difference between these two things, it's a world of difference because if it's just a marketing budget, it's like something. It's like you know, it's like Red Bull sponsoring a NASCAR team or something, right? Like that's marketing. It's almost like the sponsors for something like Dignitas. Imagine when those were so big it made a team. And actually, MMA's team Acer did that.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Because this is the business side of esports that in my experience of talking to a lot of esports viewers, they actually have no idea about this stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get you know, something like Samsung. They're such a big company, they can actually make an entire team for the function of promoting their product.
That's right.
But then you have other entities like EG, which can actually get, and it's like a mini business, and they get a ton of other sponsors, smaller in scope, for instance, but they can actually then make that into a powerhouse team. But one thing to note is that generally a lot of the Korean players have made a little bit more cash in some cases on non-Korean teams.
Yeah, that definitely has happened in StarCraft II.
Yeah, it's definitely happened. But then the problem is that if you're going to be on, in some cases, a foreign team. A lot of times you're just going to events so much. You're traveling all over the place, but then it's harder to train in a Korean pro house, for instance. So there's a real balance to it.
Absolutely the case. Very informative stuff. You guys enjoyed that. We're kind of getting into the game now. And looking at this game right now, exactly the second, it was 2 gateways scouted here by Deer. And when you see 2 gateways, one of the best counters is just to make your Twilight, like, instantly. Because if they do, like, an actual legitimate pressure, as long as you don't lose your Mothership Core, your Blink will finish, like, right as your Nexus Cannon is running out. So you should be able to just hold any aggression that they have off of 2 gate
Well
opener.
said, well said.
In this case, we actually see Seed right away grabbing a Twilight as well, which is becoming increasingly common after a 2 gateway opening, which is just, it's a good follow-up because you get a lot of Stalkers, and a lot of Stalkers without Blink are pretty crappy.
Well, here's the Mothership Core to come in and take a peek at what's going on inside of Deer's base. And the Blink upgrades are just about synced up.
Yeah. Just slightly quicker for Deer, which is what you would expect in 1 gateway versus 2 opening. And I mean, they're pretty much even here. It's not a whole lot of a difference.
Well, he sees the Robo now being made. And, in fact, there's really nothing left to the imagination here.
No, not much at all.
And so he's going to get that out just in the nick of time.
That's like, that Mothership Core is like watching your significant other poop. It's like, well, I guess that's it. I guess I know everything. That's full information right there, Tasis. Yeah. And that's kind of the nice thing about opening with 2 gates. You have enough units, you're just not going to be broken by anything, so you can do something like be like, okay, I don't need a Nexus Cannon, right?
Yeah.
So he gets a good scout off there.
Well, we have Deer checking around the map, peeking over here to the upper left to make sure there's nothing hidden. And Seed also patrolling around the exterior of his main base. We do have the probe coming down now, and it looks like he will be making a Nexus.
Well, nice. That's actually like I think he's playing basically perfectly right now, Seed, I have to say. When you scout that your opponent is going Blink as well and getting a Robo, that's like a lot of extra gas to get the Robo. You can then skip the Robo, and just like make your Nexus because he can't have enough Blink Stalkers to beat you, right? Because, I mean, he spent all this extra gas on the Robo to be safe, but you got the scout off, so you know that you can just sit back and macro up and you have the same tech he has, aside from an Observer. So, Seed definitely taking a bit of a lead here.
We don't have that Nexus made just yet, but it does look like Deer is banking up for it. And now we have an engagement. Deer in pursuit right now as Seed is heading back. Seed getting very close to getting to where his Nexus is. We have 2 sentries and a few more Stalkers on the high ground. He blinks up, and that will probably bait Deer into coming down and trying to put some pressure on that Nexus. But with Guardian Shield up, that's really not a viable option.
Seed actually playing like really, really safe right now. Even like with the Guardian Shield and all, he's serious about just keeping this Nexus. And look, it finishes when Deer's Nexus is not even halfway done. Deer's going to get the scout on and realize, oh, you just have a build order advantage here. But it's not something that's necessarily just straight up game ending.
Well, getting even a small Stalker lead is pretty helpful. Deer is actually expanding as well here. I'm curious to see if Seed will continue to put some pressure on. Looks like for now the answer is no. But Seed already with a very substantial lead, and I don't see him getting behind anytime soon here. I think he'd have to misclick to some degree.
Yeah.
Miss micro if he was going to lose this.
Certainly agree on that. It's also kind of up to him where he wants to go with tech here. Like, do you add a Forge and go for the much later game? It looks like he wants to continue to put on a little bit of pressure. I don't really foresee him being able to do too much. His opponent should just have like a Nexus Cannon and or Immortals, but gets a probe, gonna go home.
It looks like he's going to gun down that Observer pretty easily with the Nexus Cannon.
I like it.
Nice, cute usage of the Nexus Cannon.
Really was.
When he sees that it's there, something to deal with it pretty quick and efficiently.
This early in the game, your opponent just isn't going to break you. So you may as well just use that. Both players going into Colossus tech. Quicker Forge for Deer, which I'm actually slightly surprised about. I thought for sure Seed would get a Forge by now.
Well, with him already in the lead, you're thinking now he just want to get more ahead by getting a bunch of upgrades.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
Apparently not. Seed actually teching very quickly to Colossus here, a little bit ahead of where Deer is.
Still, we don't see any Forge here. 4 seed. Ah, gonna add some gateways. He may be going for like a timing attack with a single Colossus, possibly. We'll see if he starts Thermal Lance. I think he will.
If he doesn't start Thermal Lance, though, it's probably a high chance he is going to just do that.
Well,
quick poke in here.
He just added another gate. Now, that was a good scout there as well. That scout saw no Forge in any place a Forge should be. Saw 3 gates. Why are 3 gates warping right now? Why are you making 3 gates right this second?
Can I just point out that it's it would be very Seed-esque if you were to just do this one Colossus time in?
He definitely is. Like, no Thermal Lance start yet, and the fact that he was making those extra gates really points towards it. And now that he's going up to +4 gates, he's just decided he can kill his opponent right now. And his opponent is spending extra money on Thermal Lance on +1, so that's money that could be units.
Now, I want to point out, because Seed plays like this a lot, just these crazy builds, very unique strats. I don't know if you can always play like this all the time and be a champion. He's done it before, but consistently be a champion, I'm not totally sure. Because, again, the build style, it's very acute, it's very specific, it's very window-oriented as far as timing goes. And if it doesn't work out, you're basically done. So let's see, if he bludgeons Deer up here, more power to him. And oh my God, that was really nice, jumping on that Colossus and doing a lot of damage to it. Force field's come down now. He's going to have to bring the Colossus forward to step on it, but he might be able to blink on top of it again.
Good hold so far. That Nexus Cannon really kind of pressuring Seed to decide exactly what to do here. He is continuing to warp in a lot of units. He has so much supply right now here, Teslas. And we do have Thermal Lance actually done for Deer, so he's actually has more micro potential in some ways. But nice blink forward here. Going to be able to pick out these Colossi. Really nice move there by Seed.
Absolutely brilliantly. The Colossus for Seed is just positioned in such a way that it's going to be very tough for it to be targeted down here. Well, as I say that, those Immortals just click right away on it. He's blinking up now.
That blink up, not good.
Yeah, with 2 Immortals up here, he's got to be pretty efficient with his Stalkers. He really has to pick his fights favorably. I'm surprised he didn't micro that Colossus back. It was just sitting there right within range of the Immortals. I assumed that no matter what, that would be able to get away due to the spot it was in. And then it started getting shot and just died.
It walks over everything, so
exactly.
It shouldn't really die. He needed the damage output from it, but yeah, definitely some mistakes there. And with 2 Immortals left over, this is not really looking that good for Seed. Does blink up, try to get something done. Not going to happen.
He's got to be careful here because Deer is actually in a substantial lead right now with Army and Workers, actually. And this is what I was talking about, that build that we saw Seed do this game. You can't do these builds all the time and win. They're cool to use in a tournament. They're smart, but there's a lot of risk involved.
Yeah, I mean, that's an attack that you have to hit very sharply. He did start taking the lead with it, but you're skipping out on so much. The fact that he skipped out on Thermal Lance and he skipped out on upgrades. We have +2 on the way for Deer. The difference between +0 and +2 in PvP, it's like a free win. I mean, especially when you have Thermal Lance. Right? The amount of damage output from Deer is going to be insane. So that was really pretty much an all-in from Seed that failed.
Yeah, and now we're going to have one of the crappy Plan B, also an all-in, but just not quite as good, which is why we didn't see it in the first place. But he has no other options.
Yeah, and he's making a Dark Shine. Maybe you'll be able to pick off an
Some
Observer.
people might ask, why would he just go back and start making probes? Well, it's too late, bro.
Yeah. All that Deer would have to do is just, like, get 150 supply and move across the map, and the game's over.
Yeah. Well, he could try to use Blink here to maybe blink up into the main or something, but...
Yeah. Something like that is probably the plan. Maybe try to catch a piece of the army off guard with these Blink Stalkers. It's actually all the rage right now in Korean PvP to try to pick off Colossus with Blink Stalkers. For the past, like, couple of weeks, we've been seeing a lot of players trying that.
Well, we saw a brief warp in there in the main. And third base is done for Deer. The sand is running out of the hourglass for Seed here. It looks like with a Warp Prism and a Dark Shrine, he wants to move out, potentially make DTs, warp him in to try to pick off stuff in the main or maybe at the third. It depends on how he wants to approach this.
Thing is, there's cannons on the way for Deer. Look at that. He's got cannons in his minerals lines. Like, don't know that these DTs are actually going to do anything.
And it's just getting more and more futile. Also, Deer should be privy to what's going on.
Sickest giveaway.
He should be privy to what's going on right now.
Like, here's 6 stalkers for your observer. That doesn't tell you to start chrono boosting observers. I don't know what will.
Well, let's see if these DTs can do anything. Nope, GG. Very one-sided game. Yeah. Seed picked a strat. Could have worked, but he didn't execute it absolutely perfectly. It wasn't a bad idea strat, but it was a very unforgiving one that requires, you know, S-class control.
Yeah, he actually had a little bit of an edge when he chose to do the strat. So I don't like look down upon the choosing of the strat, because when you get your Nexus quicker than your opponent, that is actually a very strong attack that you can do, and you both went blank and stuff. But not quite working out. The defender's advantage, rather, for Deer was simply strong enough. And the way he utilized the high ground there to get a better concave, it was huge. So it just not quite working. Great scout by him, too. That hallucination scout basically figured out what Deer was doing just in time.
Well, let's see what Seed does here in Game 2. I love his play style. It's always a treat to cast. I always feel like I leave a Seed game learning something. And hopefully you guys have the same experience at home.
He's a very creative Protoss.
Yeah, I would say one of the brainiest Protosses we've had. But, I mean, is the way he's approaching it the best way? Deer, I think, is more basic. Even though he's super smart as well, but by comparison. But Deer also has better execution, I'd say, in general, than Seed does.
Yeah, well, Deer is, I think, just straight up a better player than Seed. So, like, I think he's, like, a little bit better in kind of every area.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit less creative, although he, like, pioneered some of the stuff that Protoss does, like, very, like, his hallucination scouting. And it's not pioneering, but I don't know. He's refined a lot of what Protoss does.
Well, let's see how this next game goes. This is Seed against Deer for our second best of 3 here.